Alrighty, so very quickly I wanted to go over something that they actually just sort of mined maybe out of the developer app. So if you're unfamiliar with the developer app stuff, there was a little bit of I guess you would consider it a leak, but it's basically like the developer app is what the actual developers use and they experiment with, and there's so much stuff that changes within this that it's really hard to say like, hey, this is concrete information, so take everything that is in this with a grain of salt, because obviously it could change drastically. It could end up getting dropped. Some of the content may never even see the light of day, or just the ideas or anything like that that's thrown around. The developer app is literally just them. They can put whatever they want in the game, and it's just for their eyes basically only, so anything that we see from this is very subject to change. So he even reiterates this right here at the beginning: this changes every day and may not be in the final version. So just a heads up. So not only is there some interesting stuff right here at the beginning, units added, Holy War Estarossa, which is pretty cool. I don't know exactly if this is like 3,000 years ago Estarossa, or if this is like, you know, because the Holy War is basically throughout the entire like series as far as I understand it. So this could be like the newer seasons with Estarossa, which I don't know how that's going to work out. That's going to be a ridiculously crazy unit, by the way. I guess heads up, if you haven't watched all of the manga, or like if you haven't read all of the manga, or you haven't, you know, seen the show or anything like that, there could be potential spoilers here. So, you know, I guess be careful if you don't want that spoiled. But here's some interesting ones. Demon Race Grey Road, which for some reason they have just never added Grey Road into the game like as a playable character, which is really interesting because even in the story mode and stuff like that, whenever you go up against Grey Road, he has a full like 3D model. He has, you know, skills and ultimate move animations and all of the stuff that you would need to have him in the game as a character, but they just never seem to really implement him as a full like fledged playable character. So I'm assuming it has something to do with how his passive or how his commandment works, and they're maybe trying to find the best way to balance that. But at this point, honestly, like he's literally in the second season of the show whenever they first start going against the commandments and everything like that. So it's been so long at this point, I don't know why they wouldn't have already come up with a way to implement Grey Road into the game. So that's a little bit of a weird one. Demon Race Gother is also very interesting because if you're unaware, like I said, spoiler alert, in the show they go back in time at a certain point, King and Deandu, and they meet the Gother that actually controls the doll that the rest of the seven deadly sins actually like have as part of their group. So the Gother that we have pretty much in the game right now is just the doll, and this is the Gother that actually created it. So this is a really interesting one because Demon Race Gother could potentially have some sort of the same like abilities or anything like that, and he'll actually, I guess he would technically have a commandment on him as well, which would be really interesting. Because I think in the show, whenever they show him, it's like in the past, whenever he's still part of the commandments and everything like that. So he would potentially, I think he has a commandment there. I'm not positive on that, so I don't know. Don't roast me if I'm wrong, but I think that would be really interesting. I think it would be super cool if we got like a festival Gother at some point, and it was the Demon Race Gother, and he was a blue unit, and he could rank up, because I think that would be very, very helpful. Because honestly, Red Gother is still insane to this day. Like the fact that he can rank up cards and everything like that, people still use him all the time. He's actually right now in the meta, I would say he's almost more relevant than Green Gother is, but Green Gother is just absolutely insane. The fact that he is a Halloween exclusive unit and they put him on banners only like, you know, once in a blue moon, it really sucks for a lot of the player base, because I guess he's, you know, a little bit harder to get. Whereas I guess it wouldn't be the greatest outcome if he was a festival unit as well. But with them doing festivals as much as they do them, if they potentially add a festival Gother sooner rather than later, he'll show up on these, you know, the rest of the festival banners in the future, hopefully. Or maybe not the rest of them, but for a while, I would imagine, after his debuts, he'll be on other festival banners, if anything. But I think that would be really nice, just having a blue Gother, so that way you could use him in the Red Demon fights and stuff like that. Just any sort of like situation where you need a blue unit that can rank up, and obviously it needs to be a Gother, so that way you can't run it with other Gothers, because then you could have double rank up first turn every time, and it would be absolutely busted. So this is where it gets really, really interesting, because I actually didn't know anything about this, but it says unknown race. They're adding, I'm going to butcher the names, but it's Donnie, Israf, Rin, Orlandi, Gane, and Modgane, which are all, I've Googled them, they are all demon or vampire race characters from apparently this Vampires of Edinburgh manga, sort of, I don't want to say spin-off, but it says is a series of 3 special manga chapters released alongside the Seven Deadly Sins anime. So I don't think that any of this stuff has actually been shown in the anime per se, so there is a little bit of a spoiler warning there, but it seems like they're going to be trying to add some content from like a manga only. As far as it goes right now, they may end up animating at some point, but it looks like they're going to be trying to add content from a manga sort of chapter or series, which could be really cool, because it's content that, you know, none of us that only watch the anime have ever seen, and it could be really cool to see that into the game, especially with the whole, like, you know, vampire race stuff and everything like that. I find that really interesting, and it's kind of weird that the main, like, the anime itself doesn't really touch on that a whole lot. Like, there's a little bit touched on in the end of the newest season that's airing right now, but I think it could be a really cool, like, sort of like extra, you know, bit of content or story, or, you know, anything like that they end up adding to the game. So I'm honestly, this is probably what's most exciting to me. They say right here there are only 2 playable units, probably Gelda, which that's kind of a spoiler. I guess I won't touch on that too much, but if you know who Gelda is, she's actually in the anime. And then it says 1 other unit from the list, unknown race. So I don't know exactly who it would be, but I don't know. That's really cool. I think they'll probably end up keeping it as unknown race unless they end up adding a lot of vampires to the game. I don't really see them changing it from unknown race to like adding an entire new vampire race, which I think could be cool. I don't see why they really necessarily couldn't do that, but I don't know. It just might be a lot of work on their part. Maybe that's just not something that they want to do. And then next up is disasters. 2 new units would arrive with a disaster event, probably 1 different. Example is Mark II Valenti. So I think what he's saying here is there's 2 new units that they're going to add with new disaster events, and it has potential to be like an awakened form of another character. So for example, it could be like awakened Easton. I don't know why I can't think of their names right now. Could be like awakened Easton, could be awakened Shin, awakened Camilla. I don't know. Something along those lines is kind of what he's getting at as far as the example goes with Mark II Valenti, I think. And then he says probably 1 different. So maybe, obviously there's only 7 disasters, so they can't really add another character unless that's just something that they end up doing, because that's really the developers of this game are the ones who make all of the disaster event stuff. Like, that's completely up to them. I don't know exactly what, you know, they could end up doing with that in the future, but as far as I know, we've already got all 7 disasters. So if they add a new character or anything like that, to be seen in the future, I guess. Story continuation. The story is programmed up to Arturo die. I don't know why it's worded like that, but I'm not going to say anything about that if I don't have to. I don't know if it will end there exactly, so it seems like maybe that's how far they are on the newest chapter. If not, that might be the entire chapter 18, and that's where it ends off. So that's kind of interesting. And then right here he says new stories. They will add stories from the manga. So that's what he was getting at with the whole them adding all of these vampires and everything like that. I think that's really cool. That's honestly the most interesting to me personally. I think that's really cool. Skins. I don't know why he labels this as skins, because I didn't really understand why, but it says in game a new stat appears with the name vampire. I still don't know what it means or what they will implement, so there's really not a whole lot of information there. But a new stat is kind of interesting. I think I don't know. I feel like it would be really cool to see just like characters that could, because there's like obviously there's units right now in the game like Roxy per se who like buffs human allies or whatever, or I think Hauser does the same thing. It would be cool to see like vampires that boost other vampires or something like that, but they would have to add them as a race. It wouldn't need to be unknown race at that point. So I don't know what they're planning on doing with that. He credits the person that I think he got the information from. I'm not going to click that just because I don't feel like going to Twitter and I don't know. But yeah, he's got some like actual screenshots of it, and it says UI skin stat vampire. So that is basically it. Obviously, there's a lot to unpack here. There's obviously no telling when any of this will hit the game. Obviously, it's on the developer app, so it's completely like experimental. It's all being worked on. If anything, there's no telling how far they actually are with any of this stuff. I would say at best, the thing that we're closest to getting is probably story chapter 18, especially if they already have it programmed up to a certain point. So yeah, obviously any of these characters and stuff like that could be added in the future. I think in the last like developer app sort of thing that they broke down, there was talk about being Festival Arthur, which I think he's probably the closest new unit to maybe coming out, because the 2-year anniversary for the JP and Korean version of the games is coming up very fast. So I think he will end up being a festival unit, and I think it'll be for the 2-year anniversary for them. Global will probably rebrand that as some sort of festival for who knows what. It could be like a download celebration, or just the possibilities are endless for them to rebrand it as something. But yeah, that is basically it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I know these are really like speculatory, and you know, it's really just like kind of like information that gets thrown out there, and you never really know when it's going to happen, if it ever happens. So I don't know, it's obviously just kind of all whatever, but it's cool information nonetheless. Like, I think it's really something to be interested about for the future of the game maybe. So thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe for more content in the future, and I will see you guys in the next video. See you then.